Hey guys, what's up? What's going on? And welcome back to the channel. Well, today is day 2 of self-quarantine, but I really wasn't quarantined. I did have to go to the grocery store. Grocery stores are remaining open. Governor DeWine actually did a home quarantine or a self-quarantine, whatever you want to call it, a stay-at-home order. There we go. He put it into play, a stay-at-home order for Ohio. So, I mean, that means stay home unless you have an essential job. So it's going to be quite interesting tomorrow when I go back to work to see what they have to say. I've come to find out when I was at the grocery store today, I saw and talked to a gentleman from the county where I reside, and they've been off all last week. 6 foot, I stayed 6 foot away from him. They were off all last week, and they are all going to remain off until April 6th. So that county is taking care of their employees. So we'll see what my county where I work, because I don't live in the county that I work in. So we'll see what the county I work for has to say and is going to do to take care of their employees. As of right now, really nothing has been done other than taking our temperatures, like I had stated in previous videos. So anyway, moving on from that, today is exactly what the title says. It is cleaning out the carburetor on this engine right here. I just received this engine. When you turn the gas on, all it does, gas just pours out of the carburetor. So that tells me that probably that the float is stuck in it. So, you know, I just want to do a video to show you guys, or somebody, maybe not you guys, a lot of you maybe, you know how to do this, but this is just for the people to show them that, you know, that you don't have to take it to your local motor shop and have stuff done. And actually, if you take the proper precautions in the fall when you put your mower away, you won't have to do this at all. So one of the main things that I do on all my small engines, a lot of my stuff that's gas, is in the fall I start using a product called Stratton, and if I can find a link to that, I'll put a link in the description. I believe I have purchased some of that from Amazon before. Stratton is a fuel additive that preserves the fuel and also has a moisture dispersant in it. So the Hot Shots product, yeah, I believe it has the moisture dispersant in it. I haven't used a lot of the gasoline treatment, so to be 100% familiar with it, I'm not, and I don't have any on hand. The last of it I had, I put in my wife's car. I don't have any on hand to actually even look at it to show you and give you an honest answer. I guess I should have really went and done some homework before I started this video, but I didn't even think about it. But if you need Hot Shot stuff, it's always the first link in the description, and coupon codes there also. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and take this apart and get the carburetor cleaned up in it, see if the float is sticking in it. When I turn the gas on, after the bowl fills up, it just runs out on the ground. So like I said, I'm going to believe, or I'm going to say that it probably is a sticky floats. All right, a few of the things you're gonna need. I always recommend wearing a pair of gloves. I hate the smell of gas on my hands, and it lasts forever. Good pair of pliers. The most common size of a lot of the stuff on these mowers and these Briggs and Stratton. This is a Briggs and Stratton engine. I'm not certain what it is because everything is missing off of it. If you don't know, you can find your serial number wherever it's at on the side. And you can always get parts via serial number, model number. Those are usually stamped inside of the case someplace. If you can find those, that'll tell you what engine it is. So, pair of pliers is always good too. There's some clips in here. Once I get this airbox off, you'll see there's these little pinch clips to be able to take your fuel lines off. And then also some carburetor and intake cleaner. I use quite a bit of it, so I just get the stuff from Walmart. This is like $1.97 a can, and also a roll of paper towel. So to get started, one of the things I do recommend is if you have left gas in here, smell it. Spoiled gas has a distinct smell. Just if you want to err on the side of safety and just go ahead and empty it out. You can empty it out by either turning it over and emptying all the gas out that way, or once you get your fuel line off back here, and I'll show you that when we get there, and that's just drain it out that way. And that's the way that I'm going to do it, is draining all the fuel out through the fuel line that's back here. Another thing that's essential that you're going to want to use is an air compressor to be able to blow things off. If you don't have an air compressor, they make compressed air for computers, and most of the time you can pick that up at Walmart. You can also use a can of compressed air to be able to clean out different orifices within the carburetor. To start with, just go ahead and remove your air box. You're going to want to do this anyway. Remove this air box and check your air filter and make sure it's clean for the start of the season. And behind this cover, this is your airbox cover. Then you have your main filter, and then some of them have a pre-filter in them like this. So you're going to want to make sure both of these are clean, and this is stuff that you can pick up. Sometimes Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, places like that have this stuff that's pretty common, and they have it. Like I said, the most common size is a 5/16. This is a 5/16 nut driver, and I use these quite a bit. It takes everything usually off. You can get this airbox housing out of your way. Next, and then just set it to the side. You can pull the hose out. This is an evap type thing, so any of the unburnt gas that's in the valve area will go back into the air box and go through and get burnt again. It's just something to do with emissions. You can leave it in there. It's whatever you want to do. Turn it up and out of the way. I usually just put it over out of the way. Now there's two different ways your carburetor is going to be fastened to your engine. It's either going to have bolts in it like mine does, and you can use a Phillips to take those out, or it is a hex pattern, or it's going to have stems or studs that go clear into the head and come out and have nuts on it that's going to be inside your air box. So just take those two nuts off, and then everything will slide off of that. Now be very careful, because a lot of times you can be good enough and be able to reuse the gasket that's on the inside here, just like I'm going to reuse that gasket on the back side of the airbox right there. Okay, the next step after you do that, I would suggest to remove your fuel line. And that's just taking a pair of pliers. You grab a hold of that pinch clamp and move it up and out of the way. On this motor here, this is equipped with a fuel shutoff. If your engine or your gas tank does not have a fuel shutoff, you can take another pair of pliers or a pair of vice grips and put on there and actually pinch the line closed like that. I suggest a pair of vice grips, and that's what works the best. And then this is also how I'm going to go ahead and drain all of this gas out into a pan down here on the floor. I want to also mention, I'm going to do this with as many tools as I think most of you are going to have at home. A lot of you are probably going to have something like this. I was wrong upon further inspection. This one right here is a Torx head, but from what I saw most, they are Phillips heads. So I'm lucky enough, I have Torx drivers like this, then I also have Torx that go on the end of a ratchet. But a lot of you probably at home have Torx that look a lot like this. So the next step, we're going to go ahead and take the carburetor off itself. Now after you get those two out, you're going to want to be careful. Go ahead and take your throttle linkage off of there. And a lot of times there's a little spring right in here that you have to unhook also. So you can unhook the spring first if you want. And that just lifts up and out of place. There's a little hole on the back side of the throttle linkage. And then on the throttle linkage itself, You just have to look at the bottom and see which way that twists up and out of the way. A lot of times these will be bent in a Z pattern. This one right here is just bent over in a hook, and it hooks on the back side on this butterfly, and that's what adjusts your throttle to give it more gas or less gas, just like what's in your car. When you get to this point right here, you can take it to a bench or whatever you have to set it down and work on. All right, once you get your carburetor off, on the bottom of the bowl, there's a little bolt, and you're gonna wanna loosen that up. You can do this with a pair of pliers. Just grasp the carburetor, or grasp that carburetor and the nut itself, and just loosen it up. When you do that, take it over a trash can and let that old gas drip out. And this one is not going to go back together tonight, because the issue, one of the issues, or an issue that we have, is a broken gasket. There's a gasket that's in this bowl that sits in this lip right here, and then it seals around this outside edge. So I'm gonna have to run and get a new gasket. But you can see the stuff that's inside there, that's the stuff that's inside of your carburetor. After you take your bowl off, what I usually like to do is start by taking some of my carburetor cleaner and putting in this bowl and allow it to soak a little bit. And then you can take and clean that out later on. Next, this is your float right here. This will come out one side or the other. Sometimes you do have to use a pair of pliers. If you have needle nose, they work a lot better. And you pull this pin out. And then this float will lift right up and out of place. And then right there, that's your fuel shut off right there. That's the little needle that shuts the fuel off from going in your bowl. And if this isn't working properly, I just noticed when I took this out that this was really tight inside this little bracket. So I don't know if this float has expanded somewhat, but that if it's not going up and down properly, it has to move nice and free like that. For some reason there was must be a lot of crap in between there or something, but it was not moving good and free, and that was probably what was causing the issue as far as overfilling the bowl with gas. That sits on a little spring on a little tab underneath the float. So after you do that, all these little orifices inside here, just start your carburetor cleaner. You are going to want to put the straw on there and spray it down in all these little orifices. Clean inside here. There's orifices there. There's one clear down inside there. Clean off the outside of it, and if you have your compressed air, after you do that, make sure and blow all those orifices out. After doing a visual inspection, I'm pretty certain that there's some pieces missing inside this carburetor. So I don't know if somebody else has tried to clean this once before and they've had it screwed up. This is the engine that just came on this vacuum. You can see these two little pockets right here. This one is completely closed off, there's nothing here, but this one here has a fuel passage. But over top of this, when you take yours off, you'll see a little aluminum cap that sits down on this edge right here. That is completely missing, and then there's a little passage that allows the gas to come out also into the bowl. That is missing. That's not going to let this carburetor function properly. So at this point in time, this job is pretty much done. I'm going to have to order I can go ahead and clean it up and show you that, but I'm going to have to order a rebuild kit, and that rebuild kit will come a new float, and it will also come with a float needle and also the little float needle spring. So We'll go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then I'm gonna have to go in there and try and find a little parts kit and get this taken care of. And I'll also explore the option of just getting a whole carburetor, depending upon the price of an internal parts kit or a rebuild kit, compared to just getting a whole carburetor maybe off of Marketplace or something like that. All right, we're just gonna pretend like everything is good with your carburetor. So just take and spray the outside off really good. If you guys have an old used toothbrush inside the house, you can grab that and brush everything down. You're going to want to make sure and be very careful, because you never know where one of these orifices are going to come out at. That's why I always try and make sure and point things away from me, because if you get this stuff in your eyes or on your face or on your bare skin, it burns pretty good. This is the bolt that was in the bottom of the bowl. If you look, there is a passage that goes down the center of that, and then there's also some orifices on the side. You want to make sure those are good and clean also. And this one's plugged up pretty good. If you need something to clean those out, you can go in the house and grab one of the small paper clips and slide it inside there to clean some of the sludge out. This one's pretty full, so we're gonna have to get that cleaned out of there. I got a small piece of wire right here. So what you're gonna wanna do is, if this is full of sludge, there's holes on both sides. Run that through there, clean that out. Then also try and get as much of it out of here as you possibly can. And then also clean everything back off again with some carburetor cleaner. You can spray that inside there and it'll squirt out of both sides, and that would be pretty clean. All right, after you have everything cleaned out like I showed you, make sure and clean your float off also. And also, that is good and cleaned out now. You remember in the beginning, I showed you, I sprayed that out. Putting things back together, these carburetors come in a multitude of different ways. There could be little orifices and jets inside there that you need to take out. For the most part, it's all within this bottom nut, and a lot of times this is where a lot of your sludge is because it's laying in the bottom of your bowl. So putting this back together, make sure your needle goes on top or goes on the bottom of your float on that little tab. There's a tab right there on the bottom. So make sure and slide your needle on there, just like that. And then when setting this in place, set it over the center, that center little barrel, right down in between. And then slide your pin in. Just like so. And you can see now that that float moves nice and free. So there must have just been some dirt and stuff inside there, although it is getting stuck on that, but it won't go down that far when it's inside of the bowl. Then you can take your bowl, set it back on there. Some of these bowls are gonna have another hole in the side right here for draining them. That's something you can also do in the fall, is pull this plug out that's gonna be right here where my finger is and drain that. Or just use that Startron like I talked about in the beginning. Set it back in place. Make sure your seal is in good shape. These kits can be ordered online, or if you need to run to your motor shop and pick one up, you can do that too. So let's pretend like the seal is in good shape. You set that back on there like that. Put your nut back in. And tighten it down good. And then from there, it's ready to go back on your mower. But we're gonna stop there because this one is not ready to go back on the mower. All right, that's pretty much all there is to it. Like I said, mine, I'm gonna have to take it back off of there because I am gonna have to pick up a rebuild kit. If nothing else, I need that seal, a bull seal, and then I need one of those little, it's like a little, it's a little aluminum disc that goes over there. It's kind of domed. When you put it in, you set it in place and then you just hit it with like a punch or something like that. And what it does, it flares it. That dome, it kind of flattens it and holds it in place. So I'm pretty sure it's missing. It should be in there to allow little to no fuel to come out of just that little passage that I showed you. So as you guys can see, yesterday's video, I was working on that. It is mounted in place now. So I'm left with very little work to do. Like I said, I've got to get the carburetor done, and then I got to get a chute mounted on the side of there with hose. I do have to pick up some other hose. There's not enough hose in there with what they had. There may be enough of the 8-inch there, but the 6-inch, there is not enough to go from there to the top up there, so I need to pick up some of that before the order goes in effect tomorrow at night at midnight, and businesses are shutting down. So getting close. Anxious to use it. We're getting some warm weather, although right now we have snow and it's covering the ground out there. So I don't know if this is Mother Nature's way of trying to control the virus, but who knows. So anyway, guys, once again, this is day 2. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Hopefully I have some good weather. I can get out and work on the 2nd gen some more. I've got some more stuff that I want to tear apart on it. So guys, if you don't mind, hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not already done so, and we'll talk to you guys later on.